in the information systems program. And I appreciate what Aisha had to say about finding that nexus between the pragmatism of technology and engaging in the community. So the information systems program is a combination of business and technology, the tools. Coming from a social work background as well, I'm interested in seeing, okay, how can we use these tools to make a positive difference? And so I'm going to be focusing on cybersecurity and how technology can be used in that avenue. So of course we're talking about AI and data, so I have to bring up Star Trek. Any Star Trek fans here?
Yeah.
That is the direction that we're moving in, though. It's just increasing intelligence. But in today's reality, what we work with is structured data, which is usually when people are throwing like SQL joins and whatnot. But more and more, we're working with unstructured data, which is just this immense amount of data coming from our phones. You can see here that every 60 seconds, you have massive amounts of data that's being captured, and more and more globally, people have smartphones, and so you have so much data, and so most of it is unstructured data. So what do you do with it? How do you work with that kind of data? So one method is you create a data lake where all this data is just sort of thrown into basically like this lake, and then you work with that data. You can do analytics, but what I'm focusing in, and this quarter, we've been focusing on machine learning. And so you can take that data and come up with things like Google Maps or, what movie am I going to watch next? Well, recommendation systems. Unfortunately, we're not the only ones who are interested in all this big data. So all the cybersecurity who are also eyeing these, juicy little tidbits. And so these are some of the low-hanging fruit that the attackers are targeting. So then there's really big stakes. If you're a corporation, you get hacked, you have these kinds of fines. Or, on a more individual level, if you're an elderly person and your account gets hacked, you can lose all your money. So, it's really important stuff in my opinion. So, okay, so we have all this big data. How do we actually work with it? What kind of tools can we look at? So you have different algorithms, which is part of the machine learning. One approach, because there's so much data, this gives an example of just how much is in a network. If we use algorithms or these kinds of equations that can work with unstructured data, it can actually work with it and make models. So here, clustering is one of the machine learning algorithms that we worked with this quarter. And so what it does is that it creates these clusters of data. And so how it does that, this is one model, is it takes these disparate pieces of data, and it just kind of looks at the data and says, okay, which is the closest that's like me? And so by doing that, it kind of combines, iteratively, it finds those kind of clusters. And so this is the equation, one of the equations that you can use where you're plugging in the data for each of the data points, and then it finds the distance. And so then you find that distance between the 2 points, and then at the very end of this process, you have these clusters. So what does that actually mean? It means that by using these tools, we can actually combat cybersecurity because it's almost overwhelming with so much data, and you have hackers who are just like inundating you with all these attacks. By using something like clustering algorithm, you can look at all this data, you can use that clustering algorithm, you can see the similarities between the data, and then you can actually like proactively work against it. And so it's something that, the sort of traditional models where you sort of train the algorithms, it just doesn't really work. So this is sort of, speaking on the theme of emergence, this is a way to deal with that. So yeah, I like Charlie Brown, so I had to throw this in there. But it's stressful, on so many counts. There's just like, this is really stressful stuff, being hacked. So I wanted to toss in here that machine learning actually can do other things besides taking on cybersecurity. There's a lot of work being done with, okay, so here's the baseline for what happiness is or physical health, and then it can show, okay, outliers of like, okay, you need to work on that. So this is sort of a summary of, there's these exciting new tools. It really is a new world in information. And so this is one way that we can address some of these issues. And so a big thank you to Karen, my sister, who's been a huge support, and also Emily, who's from the program. So it's a journey. So whenever we have support, just have to put a shout out there. Thank you.